Good evening, televiewers. We are very sorry for the late start of today's edition of Prime R. We faced with problems at times, and just because we are bent to doing this program today, we thought it wise to do it. They say better late than never. We are sincerely very sorry for the late start. We plan to look at the call by the Coalition for Dialogue, amongst others, including the World Church Council of Churches, the Refugee Council of Australia, the Global Campaign for Peace and Justice in Cameroon, the Consortium of Ethiopian Human Rights Organizations, the Cameroon Humanitarian Relief Initiative, amongst others. They are calling. They wrote an open letter to the United States Secretary of State, Tony Blinken, on the Anglophone crisis, asking the U.S. Secretary of State, alongside the Biden administration, to lead a push for an end to the ongoing crisis rocking the two English-speaking regions of Cameroon. We are talking about the southwest and northwest regions. We also, if time permits, also look at the caption carried by the Guardian Post newspaper, saying that the United Nations is saying that they have no intentions to discuss the Anglophone crisis anytime soon, which indicates that it is not in their agenda for the moment. We are discussing this with our panelists, as earlier announced, who already are seated in the House. We are in the company of Senior Barrister Ashu Emmanuel. He is the national president of the Reform Party. Good evening, Senior Barrister, and welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Leo. Good evening, televiewers. We're sorry for the late start. We hope we can make hay out of the rainfall.
Okay. Yes, we are going to make the best out of the time that we have left to discuss. We also are in the company of our consultant, as Apostle and B. Valentine Gua. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Leo. Good evening, Cameroonians. Good evening, viewers of Prime R. It's a privilege to be here again this evening. God bless you all.
Dr. Nick Ngwanya is in the house. He's a social entrepreneur and an educationist and a politician. Good evening and welcome.
Thank you very much. We hope that we're able to make good use of the time that we have in our hands. Thank you.
So with us is a Pan-Africanist, Andrin Atemibako. He's in the house. Good evening and welcome, Andrin.
Thank you very much, Mr. Luke, for this special invitation, and I also want to greet all the other panelists who are on board this night, and to all Cameroonians, all the viewers of my media Prime. Thank you very much.
Okay, I'll start with you, Senior Barrister Ashu Emmanuel. This is an open letter. It is true that it is to the new administration, but this is not the first time you are making efforts to bring the international community to see reasons to intervene and push for an end to the Anglophone crisis. Why has nothing been done this far? Is it that your lobbying power is not strong enough?
No, Mr. Leo. We have to bear in mind that the new Biden administration has not yet formulated a policy, a clearly defined policy on this, on Africa and on the Anglophone, on Cameroon. All we have is policy from the outgoing administration, with our former friend who was saying that, well, after Ethiopia, after Sudan, they will come to Cameroon. But with the new administration, they still have to come up with a policy. So that is the reason why the lobby groups are coming up with efforts to give material that can help this administration, this new administration, to formulate a policy that would bring back peace to this land. And that is the reason why the Coalition for Dialogue and Negotiation, partnering with other organizations, came out with this letter, you see, as a means to guide the American administration to take a good decision, to come up with a good plan that will bring back peace to our country.
Is it to say that the current administration is not aware of what is happening in Cameroon, where we know that Congress members and some senators already are aware of what is happening?
Well, you see,
is administration not supposed to be continuous, especially when it comes to
the congressmen?
Yeah.
We agree with you. Resolution 684 is there. That does not stop. You see, when you look at the letter, you have organizations that are in Cameroon. Now, when you talk of the Congress, that's American Congress. They had material that was given to them, which enabled them to come up with that resolution. But here you have a number of, I think, 11 organizations worldwide that are ringing the alarm bell and saying, no, there is a problem here. You see, the administration will bear in mind that Congress, as the Senate, took this problem seriously. And now, if other organizations around the world are coming up to further call their attention to it, I think it would be a nice thing for them to actually put this thing in the forefront and make sure that partner countries will join to bring peace back to this country.
Apostle Valentine B. Ungwa, do these diplomats, because this letter is aimed at actually igniting a flare in the new administration in the U.S. to take interest in what is happening back here in Cameroon, do they need to be reminded of what is happening in Cameroon?
During his inaugural speech, Anthony Blinken, the U.S. Secretary of State, the president one said he is interested in what is happening in Cameroon and Ethiopia. He was not told. A letter was not addressed to him. He wasn't told, which means before he came to power, he's aware. Secondly, this administration in question right now, they didn't fall from space. They have been privy to every information that has been running in this country, and they are very conscious of the atrocities and the reports that come from this country. Secondly, U.S. as a nation is in the United Nations, and the United has the data of all what is happening in Africa. So I don't think that they are going to be told on what to do or what to understand that is going on in this country. The other worry I have is that, diplomacy has a lot of process and it takes a lot of time. If they are addressing a letter to Anthony Blinken and they are calling other bodies of the world to submit, push the U.S. to intervene in Cameroon's case, I'm wondering if the U.S. is the only member of the United Nations. The U.S. is not the only member. If they are calling the U.S., it looks like the Cameroon problem concerns only the United States, or the United States has the veto power to decide what happens in Cameroon. This thing goes back to the circle round and round and round, and that is my worry, because we keep relying on people who cannot help us. The Englishman says, make hay while the sun shines. The day is going, people are dying, and we are talking the poor are not even interested in what is going on in Cameroon. I think that Cameroonians to have a rethink and understand that wars have been fought in different nations of the world. When atrocities begin to increase, we have to re-strategize our approach. This idea of trying to seek solace from people who practically have their own worries and their own challenges that they have not solved is the concern I have as far as this Cameroonian case is concerned. So I think it's very important for us to understand that the Coalition for Dialogue and Negotiation, their proposals to the U.S. to intervene in Cameroon is not something that they were supposed to be telling the U.S. The U.S. already has a knowledge of what is happening. I remember this Joe Biden, who happens to be the president right now, was 26 years when he became a senator. And he began agitating for South Africans when they were going through the apartheid. Where is that zeal, that energy? If as a senator he had such energy to fight for the freedom of blacks in South Africa, now that he has power as a president, why doesn't he exercise it?
He needs to be reminded to take action. But let's even assume, Dr. Nick, that this letter is taken into consideration. What veritably is going to be changed? What is going to change?
What I might say is that I'm speaking my mind. The letter is not important.
Okay.
No, it's not important. And I will also, Apostle was just speaking and saying, President Biden at 26 was very vibrant, and he's asking where the energy has gone. That's what happens. You start as a young man, you are vibrating a lot, but with time you have to, when you've got wisdom, then you pipe down a little bit. And then besides, at that time, as a senator, he had one issue to deal with. Now, as a president, he has the world to deal with. So you can't, time changes things, and things are weighted differently, Why am I saying the letter is not important? Last time we were on the set here, and I told you what I was seeing in the crystal ball. we might have a problem and ask the world to help us, but at the end of the day, we are the ones to solve our problems. And I already mentioned that dialogue was on the way, and the dialogue will be genuine, the dialogue will be open, it will be a roundtable thing, and that President Paul Biya is interested in reconciliation and unity in the nation, and that when we get to that reconciliation and unity, it will be an end result. And we said that specialists were going to be on board to look at every facet of the whole problem that brings us a veritable solution. So yes, the external world will be there to help us to solve our problems, but we have to show that desire to be able to solve our problems, and the will is there for us to solve our problems, and sooner or later the problem will be solved.
Emmanuel Ted, good evening to you, West End, and Ernest Boma, and Deep Tambe Ebot, good evening to you, Gilberto Kulpos, Bela Bruno, good evening to you, Smith Bright, and to you, Bakala Foncha, Andrew Atem Ibako. Now, if Apostle Ambe and Dr. Nick think that attention should not be given to the West and they want things to be done the other way round, are they saying that the coalition for dialogue and dialogue and negotiation should rather focus on engaging the different actors involved in this war and not necessarily getting to external partners? I'm talking about rather engaging the Cameroon government and maybe the separatist fighters or activists.
The first thing I will say is this: we talk here on our problems we have in this country, being a democratic nation, and looking at it from the international point of view. Democracy without autonomy is like a businessman without capital. I still repeat this. You cannot claim to be a people of, how will I put it, sovereignty when you do not have full political rights and you do not have veto power. This is almost like giving me an impression that the West has a double standard when you look at the laws that governs the United Nations. That does not give the American, the United States, the power or the right to intervene in what is happening in Cameroon. Putting aside the fact that we have other bodies within Cameroon and we have other, how will I put it, elites and other bodies that can manage the problems that we have. And it is not even a good thing in the first place whereby we sit down, we create problems, we create monsters, and then when they tend to start chasing us, we seem to wait until the international community calls on us to solve our own problems. That makes us look as if we are not even ready to solve our own problems. Because when we have problems, going back, let us look at it from a village point of view. We have the chiefs, we have the elites, we have other bodies within Cameroon and within neighboring Cameroon. We have Ghana, we have Tanzania, we have many other countries that we can call which are within the context of Africa and say, look, we have this problem, we have not been able to resolve this problem. How do we go from here? Instead of us waiting for bodies or people to start calling on the West to see into our own problems, the very problems which we created, it only tells me that we are still not even ready to solve the problems that we are facing today in Cameroon, Mr. Liu. So the first thing when it comes to the international community, the way I look at it, Mr. Liu, Africa or Cameroon should have had someone at that level of the United Nations with the veto power to defend the African continent, whereby African can solve certain problems which are above them. That does not need to call on the West. Because the problems we are facing today in Cameroon, Mr. Liu, I will still tell you that this is, how will I put it, it's a problem that generates from the colonial background. When you talk about Anglophone, Anglophone is not tribe in Cameroon. Francophone is not tribe in Cameroon. So for somebody to say I'm an Anglophone, I think the person is going out of context. You are either a Bayangi, or you are either how will I put it, a Bamileke, but you are not an Anglophone or you are not a Francophone. We have identity as people from this part of the world. So let us be very clear when we look at the context of the problem that we are facing today. If you look,
are you saying that the judicial system of the people of the Southwest and Northwest regions and their educational system should be set aside?
Mr. Liu, if let me make this example here. You see, one of the things that Magufuli did when he came to power was to abolish the celebration of Independence Day. You see, there are certain things which have become our way of life that we have to do a rethink, and we have to look at it whether it has really been helping us. We are talking today about 60 years, Mr. Liu, under a democratic system. The country has been regressing. It has only produced more political parties which has instead enslaved the people and brought more torment to the people of Cameroon. So we are not going anywhere, still applying the same how will I put it, strategies, and you are expecting to get a different result. We need to be able to rethink and take different measures if we are going to move forward. So what I'm saying here, Mr. Liu, is that time in everything is very important. Where when you do the right thing at the wrong time, it has no relevance. When this issue started here, if the government had a goodwill, it would not have even escalated to what we are talking today, where we are hearing Ambazonians, we are hearing Anglophone, we are hearing Francophones. No, Mr. Liu, we should not have even found ourselves in this position. So the goodwill has not been there. So these are problems that it is not above us, and we should not call people who have double standards.
Okay, I want us to look at the letter per se. I'll start with you, Senior Barrister, because you are a member of the Coalition for Dialogue and Negotiation.
But may I just ask on behalf of our listeners, because Siebako said something, I just want to set the record a little bit straight, otherwise our people get confused. Now, it's very important for us to I'm sorry to disappoint you. There are Anglophones in this country, and there are Francophones. And the Anglophones are those people who come from that state called West Cameroon.
Southern Cameroon.
Well, West Cameroon. West Cameroon, Southern Cameroon is fine. Doesn't matter. That's a polemics. Then we have people from East Cameroon who are called Francophones. Now, though when you use the word Anglophone or Francophone is generic, let me explain. Anglophone does not necessarily mean the person who speaks English. Otherwise, we begin to think that the Anglophone problem is about the English language. It's not. It's about a people who have been marginalized and pushed to the wall, and whom the other bigger part has been trying to absorb. That's what it's all about. And these people have been marginalized, and they've been pushed to the wall, and they've not been given their own space in which to breathe. So I just want to make that part very clear, and we need to sit down and accept that, and then solve this problem. If we start going to the little tribes and so on, then we're just trying to distort history, which will just make a simple problem become more complex. Thank you.
Okay, Senior Barrister, I'll start with you. Your proposals, you say amongst other things, they should name. You are telling the U.S. government to name a special envoy to facilitate the State Department's lead within the interagency process and its efforts to engage all international and local stakeholders whose contributions are needed to bring an end to the conflict, as laid out in Resolution 684. Yes, what do you mean by this?
Now, thank you, Mr. Liu. You see, before we get to that, we have to understand that we cannot solve a crisis without knowing what it is about. If I ask you, you say you heard Apostle, you heard Dr. Nick, they gave the impression that this is a local thing that can be solved here, because they always say we have to solve it ourselves. So the first thing we have to understand is the nature of the conflict. Are we talking about a local conflict, or we are talking about an international conflict? It is local if we're talking about something inside one house, but it's international if it concerns two states. Like Dr. Nick was saying, you see, history has to be made right, and you have to straighten these things. In 1960, 61, there were two states, Southern Cameroons and the Republic of Cameroon. So we are talking about something that is international. It is not something national. Now, I objected when Dr. Nick talked of West Cameroon, because West Cameroon is a state that was created by the Republic of Cameroon. It is not an international state. The international state was called Southern Cameroons. You see, when the United Nations in the Resolution 1608, Article 5, asked that the two states come together under the supervision of Britain to sign a treaty that would define the modus vivendi. That, in furtherance of that, they went to Fumban. Nothing was done because Foncha refused to sign Aidjo's draft constitution. Then the British asked Aidjo to summon another constitutional conference, which was done in Yaoundé. In Yaoundé, while they were in the hall, Aidjo took his draft constitution and sent it to his own parliament, which came up with, which integrated that draft inside their own system, their own constitution. You see, and that is how that federal constitution came into play, creating that state of Southern Cameroon. It was a creation of the Republic of Cameroon's parliament alone. Southern Cameroon had nothing there. So that's why I say history should be made straight. The international state here is Southern Cameroon. It's not West Cameroon. West Cameroon was a creation of the Republic of Cameroon. So if you take the federal constitution, Article 1 is very clear. You will see it inside. Clear. So we have to understand that the nature of the conflict here is an international conflict between two states, which were supposed to sit together under the umbrella of a foreign power to batter out the modus vivendi, and that was never done.
Yeah.
See, that is the problem.
Yeah, but can we get back to
I am
your
asking
letter?
you a question, sir. I'm saying that
No.
the nature of the conflict should be determined.
My question to you has to do with your first proposal to the US.
Yes, sir.
You say they should name a special envoy to facilitate the State Department's lead, and you say its efforts to engage all international and local stakeholders.
Thank you.
Yes.
That is what I am explaining, that if you don't know the nature of the conflict, you will not know how to solve it. And that's why we are proposing that they should appoint somebody who will engage all the international and local stakeholders, because it is not a local conflict, it is an international conflict. It's a conflict that concerns two states.
Yeah, you say it is an international conflict, but repeatedly we've seen foreign governments and instances ask the government of Cameroon to fix its issues. They describe it as
they say go back to the root causes, sir. They ask Cameroon government to go back to the root causes. And what are the root causes? The modus vivendi of the two states was never defined.
The description is the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon.
No, sir. When you talk of northwest, southwest, I am telling you that you are falling in the pot soup of the people who think that it's a local conflict. Go back to the two states that were supposed to sit together and agree, and they never agreed.
Yes, but what I'm saying, consistently, we've seen these resolutions come out from the European Parliament, from the US, and yes, they are asking the Cameroon government to look at the problems happening in the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon.
Yes.
Except I'm missing something here.
Can I?
Yeah. But he says clearly that it is an international problem between two states. Yes, from the international perspective. Now,
let me refer you back to Resolution 1608,
yeah,
which clearly talks of the government of Southern Cameroons and the Republic of Cameroon should come together under the
Resolution 1608
yes, of 23rd of April 1961.
Yeah, what I want us to establish here is, you say it is an international issue, but consistently the international community is referring the problems as happening within the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon. Why is it international, yet the international community is referring it back to the Cameroon government to fix its issues? Yes.
Can I answer? Okay. You remember the Cameroon government always says that other states are trying to destabilize Cameroon. You remember that? They always say they are trying to destabilize Cameroon. So that is the reason why they call on Cameroon government. There is this problem in these regions, these two regions
of the northwest and southwest.
Go back to the root causes to fix it. And when you look at the root causes, you discover that it is not a local issue. And that is why organizing another national dialogue will be a waste of time, because it is not a local issue.
Is that how you see it?
Barrister, I'm sure when it comes to senior barrister, sorry. I'm sorry, I'm sure when it comes to handling issues that have to do with human lives, properties, as well as the destiny of a people, we have to be very